Good morning. It's another beautiful day. Glad you guys are doing good today. I was thinking about freedom today and the freedom we have. We got a little more freedom right now and a little less, I guess. But think about um, just people. That's where real freedom is the people you choose to seek out. I had a couple examples of people they were talking about this. I'm a cheapskate. The binder was falling apart on my Bible, so I used some red duct tape, baby. That's a quick fix. So I had a friend a couple nights ago tell me that his mom in her 90s would read the Bible every day, and he might come visit her mid-afternoon, and he'd ask her what she read, and she said, "I don't remember it, but I know it was good." And then I had another friend yesterday that called me, and we were talking, and she said, through this whole coronavirus thing, Keith, I'd never read the Bible before, but I've been reading it. It's really cool. And it is cool. That's what I would tell you. It's cool. And I'm going to tie a couple things together here this morning that I think are really cool. And you only know if you read it. If you just believe what somebody else tells you, you may not get the real story. But anyway, it took me forever to start reading this thing. So I understand if you don't. Hey, and I told you that the early Christians spent most of their time hanging out together, which we can't do now. They spent time breaking bread together. That's what we call eating out. And they were devoted to the apostles' teaching. And so that's mostly all the writings from Acts towards the end of the Bible. Acts is just a history of what kind of happened when Jesus came along, but uh, at almost every time at the beginning of the apostles' writings, they call themselves a bondservant. And I wanted to just give you a quick history on that today. Mostly it's going to be reading a couple verses or a few verses out of the Old Testament and then tying it all together. So bear with me as I read this to you. I'm going to read out of Exodus 21, 1 through 6 here. Okay, we're talking about a bondservant. 21, 1 through 6. Um, Now these are the ordinances which you are to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve you for 6 years, but on the seventh he shall go free, go out as a free man without payment. If he comes alone, he shall go out alone. If he is the husband of a wife, then his wife will go out with him. If his master gives him a wife and she bears sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall belong to the master, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out as a free man, then the master shall bring him to God, then he shall bring him to the door or the doorpost, and the master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him permanently. So he'll take that, an awl is like a sharp pointed tool, and he'll take that and poke a hole in the ear. These guys were cool before the cool people are cool today. And so then that's what a bond servant was. But let's look at it a different perspective in Deuteronomy 15:11. In Deuteronomy 15:11, it says, for the poor will never cease, because that bondservant basically was a kind of serving a debtor's prison thing. For the poor shall never cease to be in the land. Therefore, I command you, saying, you shall freely open your hand to your brother, to your needy and the poor in your land. If your kinsman, a Hebrew man or woman, is sold to you, then he shall serve you for 6 years, but in the seventh year you shall set him free. When you set him free, you shall not send him away empty handed. You shall furnish him liberally from your flock and from your threshing floor and from your wine. You shall give to him as the Lord your God has blessed you. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. Therefore, I command you this day, it shall come about if he says to you, I will not go out from you, because he loves you and your household, since he fares well with you, then you shall take an awl and pierce it through his ear into the door, and he shall be your servant, and you shall do likewise to his maidservant. So here's the deal. A bond servant is somebody that had a debt they couldn't really pay, and it got paid, and they were in bondage prior to that, and now they're free. And then once they're free, They realized how great their master was, and they freely. And so every one of the apostles were calling themselves bondservants because they knew they had this debt called sin they couldn't pay. It was paid for them by Jesus. He nailed it to the cross. And once they realized that he was enough and he was such a great master, they wanted to serve him the rest of their life. So they would have put an earring in. And so that's why they called themselves bondservants. So when you look at Galatians 5:1, it says it was for freedom that Christ set you free. You're free today. Go live freely. Trust that spirit in you to see what that freedom looks like. It's going to be really cool, I know. So have a great day today, and let's talk again before long.